Hello, everybody, and welcome into MMA Overtime number 2. I am your host, Jendo, joined by my co-host, Ben Thomas. Ben, how was your Christmas, man? How was your New Year? How'd you enjoy spending time with the family?
It was amazing. I'm not gonna lie. Nice bit of time to spend with the family, get away from normal things. Yeah, it was lovely. I'm not gonna lie to you. How was yours? And happy New Year to you.
Spectacular, man. Spend time with the family, relax, get recharged, and ready to go for the new year 2022. Big things ahead, man. This week, we've got three spectacular guests. Cody, the Renegade Gibson, former UFC fighter, current Eagle FC competitor, on a win streak, just beat John Dodson, and fights Ray Borg at the end of this month. After that, we've got Vince Morales. He is a fun one to look out for here in the UFC. And we will close with one of Francis Ngannou'S coaches, Dewey Cooper, former kickboxing world champion, and a good friend of mine, man. I've spoken to him quite a few times. He's always got some special stuff, man. He tells you a pretty cool story on a little brand he's got going on his arm, and it's pretty crazy. It's a pretty crazy story. Has to do with the scalpel and has to do with a lot of balls. A lot of respect to Dewey Cooper for that. But man, excited show. Well, what are you looking forward to most this one?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm looking forward to hearing that Dewey Cooper interview back. That was incredible. I've interviewed a lot of people in my time, although I'm only 21. It's not been long, but that Dewey Cooper interview was something special. I forgot I was interviewing him at times. I was absolutely mesmerized by the things he was saying. I genuinely can't wait to hear that one back. Looking,
He's
it's
someone who's
amazing.
a little bit larger than life, man. And if I could actually plug something that the show is going to be coming out with soon, also, we've got Ensign Inoue coming on soon. Imagine Ensign Inoue and Dewey Cooper in a call together. Imagine the stories they'd have to tell. And now let's get you over to our first guest for this week, Cody the Renegade Gibson, fighting at the end of January, as I mentioned, against Ray Borg at Eagle FC. Should be a fun one. He details some stuff, Eagle FC contracts, talks about some viral stuff of his, and a little cool story about Henry Cejudo. But before I give too much away, let's just get you over to Cody. Our guest joining us today is Cody the Renegade Gibson, 18-7 MMA fighter, but he's 6-1 in his last 7 on a 3-fight win streak. And he's a former UFC contender and a current Eagle FC competitor. How are you doing, man? Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm a little under the weather, if I'm being honest. I came down, my 2-year-old got a little sick for a few days over the weekend, and then yeah, she passed it on to me. So, and I think I was just overtrained. I was training like the last couple of weeks I've been training put 3 times a day, and so I think my immune system might have been my shield might have been down a little bit. So I'm taking the day off actually, and I'm trying to recover.
That's funny. Similar stuff is happening over here. My whole family is getting sick. I'm under the weather a bit too. It seems like it's that time of year, man. But let's get this one started a little hot. So in 2014, right after a fight with Manny Gambarian, you ended up out in Vegas, and post fight with some unknown random dude just starts beefing with you outside, or I think it was at a bar. After taking a shot, right, from someone random there, how hard is it to keep your composure, right, and not just completely lose it? You just take them down and try to like maintain that there's no damage scored there, as opposed to really letting the guy have it. Like, how tough is that?
I mean, when I was in my like earlier 20s, it was tougher, because I used to be, like if someone, I'm like a super nice guy. If I meet you and like I give everybody respect until once you're like starting to be disrespectful to me, and it's unwarranted and it's like obvious, like as nice of a guy as I am to most people, like as soon as that you kind of pass that realm, like I'm not going to be nice to you either. And in my early 20s, I got into a lot of confrontations. And now that I'm 34. So, nowadays I look at it like, what does this guy have to lose in this bar fight? And what do I have to lose in this bar fight? And it kind of changes your perspective a little bit, but it took me some time to learn that for sure.
Do you have any bar fight stories from when you were younger at all?
I got a lot of bar fight stories, unfortunately, but
Throw one at us, man.
Yeah, come on. Let's hear your best bar fight story because these are the best.
Oh man, that's a good one. I got in a fight with a biker gang.
A biker gang. Elaborate on that one a little bit.
This biker gang came into my like local bar back in I was probably 22 or 23, and they were just being loud and obnoxious. And I don't know, one thing led to another. I told the guy I liked his vest because I liked the show Sons of Anarchy.
I take it he didn't take that too kindly.
No, he didn't take that too kindly. And we ended up outside. And luckily, I went to the same establishment most nights, or most times I went out. So I knew the bouncers and bartenders really well. So they kept me out of jail for many years.
That's pretty interesting, man. So moving on a little bit, I read a tweet of yours, right, talking about a high school wrestling kid who had both of his parents deported. He ended up living with a local pastor. Could you go ahead and tell us who exactly reached out to give some inspiration to the kid and how it went down?
Yeah, I had a kid wrestling for me when I was coaching my alma mater high school, and he was a troubled kid, but he had some skills, just some natural ability. And he was working hard trying to just qualify for the state championship, which is for my area with wrestling. That's kind of like, there's only a couple of kids in the city that'll do that a year here in California. So I was trying to help him the best I could, but he kept running into issues. His parents both were deported, and then he was kind of like living with a pastor, and he had a rough senior. It was his senior year too, and he had a rough year. And Henry Cejudo actually reached out. He had heard his story. They had ran an article in the newspaper, in the local newspaper, which I think is owned by USA Today, and that they must have pushed it nationally or something. I don't know how Henry Cejudo got a hold of the story, to be honest with you. But I just get a random. It's like 5 a.m. I'm at a wrestling tournament. I think it was one of the qualifying tournaments to get to the state championships, and I'm with him. The kid, he's weighing in and doing all this stuff. I'm sitting in the bleachers, and then I just get a random text from Henry Cejudo, saying he had read the story and he wanted to just speak to him for a few minutes. And he just gave him some words of encouragement, and I thought that was really cool of him.
So obviously, how did you feel when Henry Cejudo contacted you? How was that for you? And how was it when Henry Cejudo reached out?
Cejudo is like a phenom in the wrestling world, coming out of high school and just going straight to the Olympics like he did. You just don't see that kind of stuff happen,
One of a kind.
Yeah, really it was, and you always wondered what he would have done at the NCAAs had he gone back to wrestle. He definitely would have been amongst the best. You never can say, because sometimes guys get on that Olympic ladder and they still try to come back to college, and sometimes they have tough matches still.
Gable Stevenson's coming back. Isn't he going back to Minnesota for another year?
Yeah, I think with everything between COVID's cancellation of a season and the Olympic stuff, there's going to be a lot of kind of interesting, some of the guys that should be graduated are getting to come back and stuff like that. So, yeah, he was a little bit younger than me. I want to say he's a little bit younger than me. But yeah, it was definitely, it was cool to get that text. And it was just cool that he had read the story and felt compelled to reach out and share some of his experiences and try to motivate my athlete. So yeah, I'll never forget that from Henry.
That's amazing. What a man he is, by the way. So obviously let's move forward now. So how does it feel to be active and victorious in 2021 with 2 wins after nearly 3 years out of competition? How does that feel for you? That must be a brilliant feeling.
Yeah, it had been a long time coming. I had 2019, the year before all the COVID stuff started. I had 2 surgeries. I had 2 fight cancellations. I tore a bicep. I tore my labrum really bad in my shoulder. So I just was literally the whole year just in rehab and doing physical therapy and frustrated. I'm seeing the time tick away. My age is starting to come up, and I'm like, dude, I'm just stuck in these surgeries every time I get going again and start training again and book a fight. then something, and I come from most of my career, I haven't had like a lot of serious injuries. I've been pretty fortunate. I've got a few, but ones I could work around. My ACLs are still intact, and some of the major ones I've been able to avoid. So it was a very frustrating year. And then I started 2020 just like super motivated, like, all right, I'm done with physical therapy. My shoulder's better. I'm coming back. And then COVID hit. And then everything shut down for another year. And so going into 2021, I felt like I had a lot to prove to myself. When you haven't been in there in a little while, it's a little bit, you start to second guess yourself a little bit, and whether or not you're going to react the same and your body's going to react the same to the training camp, the fight, everything. So it worked out though. I came back in 2021. I got the opportunity to fight for a pretty cool promotion, XMMA, really good people that work for them, and they treat the fighters really well. And got a couple of big wins and just trying to parlay it into 2022 now.
So the word on the street is that you could have kind of sat out and waited for a short notice call from either the UFC or Bellator. So what actually pushed you to get back on the horse so quickly instead and get back to competing?
I think some of the stuff I just talked about, like being out for that long, it was like, man, I turned 34 in September. So I'm like, I feel good. I mean, I don't say that in a way that's like, oh, I can't do it anymore. But I do know that there's going to be a day sooner than later where I'm going to feel like I can't do it anymore, where my body's going to really start to slow down.
Where it becomes a realistic conversation.
Yeah, from a physical standpoint. And so I just don't see the point in I want to fight the best guys in the world. At some point, I'm going to retire down the road, and I'm going to look back on my career. And, obviously I want to be making money, and, I want that to be in a big promotion where they're going to be paying me and the opportunity to make even more money. But, putting a guy like John Dodson or a guy like Ray Borg on my resume, like that means as much to me as the promotion I fight him in, because like I said, someday I'm going to be an old man looking back on that record and thinking about all those fights, and I want to fight the best in the world. So let's do it.
So we talk about fighting the best in the world, and let's be honest, Eagle FC, best in the world. So how did your signing with Eagle FC come to be, and how have your reactions with Khabib, if you've had any? I don't know if you have. How have they been, if you have, obviously?
Yeah, I just I was getting a little, even though I fought in late October, I was ready to get back in there by like December. Like, let's just do it, let's keep it going. And was hoping to get the UFC just to sign me and book something, or Bellator. I don't really care which one I fight in, to be honest with you. And my management was just like, right now we just got to sit and wait, and hopefully, a short notice opportunity pops up and they'll re-sign you. And I just, when this offer came in, I knew Eagle FC with Khabib coming to America for the first time. They've got some money behind them. They've got a little buzz behind them. The promotion does. Everyone wants to see how Khabib does as a promoter. I haven't had any interactions with Khabib. I've never even met him, to be honest with you. I know that's not the best response to that question, but yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to fight. I watched a couple of their shows they've done in Russia. They seem to have some pretty big production, so I'm excited. And whenever you fight for a new promotion, you're kind of unsure of what to expect as you walk into it. They're all a little bit different. So, but I actually just got word today that they want us out there on Monday, the week of the fight. I'm trying to get out there a little bit later. I don't like to be there too long, but it sounds like they've got a lot of promotional stuff that they're going to be doing throughout that week. So, yeah, I'm excited.
So obviously we don't want to get into the specifics, but how does the Eagle FC contract look in comparison to a UFC or Bellator deal? Are you happy with what they've got going for you?
Yeah, I mean, the pay is about what I would get on a return fight to the UFC. So they're, pretty comparable. I just signed a one fight deal though. I'm not, tied down to any contract. So we'll see, I'm at a position in my life now where I'm literally just racking this money in and trying to put it away. I don't live off my fight money. So I'm just stashing it away, and me and my wife are trying to buy a house. So we're just trying to, every opportunity that comes, as long as I keep winning fights and the pay keeps going up, that's a good thing. And that's really, it's pretty tunnel vision, man. That's really all I care about.
You love to hear fighters that can actually just store some away and don't have to live off the fight money. A lot of times we hear of guys that are even at the UFC level right now complaining about the pay. So it's good to hear that in comparison. But to double back a little bit, you mentioned what it means to be fighting guys like John Dodson and Ray Borg. Ray Borg will be the second straight former UFC title challenger that you will be fighting. You got a victory over a former multiple-time UFC title challenger. Again, we just mentioned him, John Dodson, your last time out. So although they bring completely different styles, right? How much does it boost your confidence knowing, hey, I just took out one of them. Let's take out another former title contender.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely boosts my confidence, when you beat a guy with a big name like that. But then everybody's going to always point to something, like, oh, well, Dotson's a little bit older now, so maybe he doesn't have the same juice that he had. You could look at his last few UFC fights, and he seemed to still have the same juice. Even if he was losing some of those fights, they were always close. So I still think he's still pretty dangerous in the bantamweight division.
Whenever your hands move that fast, you're dangerous.
Yeah, he was fast. There's no doubt about it. Ray, again, he's just a tough dude, man, and he kind of had a weird exit from the UFC as well. That was the only kind of hesitation taking the fight, was that he's had so many canceled fights. Some of them were out of his control, like the Conor McGregor bus incident, and then others, he missed weight or he had to go to the hospital because of weight, or different things, that he's had a lot of canceled fights. And I like that Tapology website. They'll actually put the canceled bouts on there, because
that's why I go there.
Yeah, you kind of get a sense of a fighter, and see, like, okay, he's had a lot of bouts fall out. So I'm just hoping it stays together. I don't believe anything until they lock the cage and it's time to go. But I'm anticipating he's going to show up. He seems motivated, which is good. And it's just a new challenge, man. Every one of these guys, every single guy in the top 15, top 20, top 30 in the world, like, every one of them is just a puzzle that's really fun to try to figure out. And it's a game I enjoy playing. So John Dodson, man, I trained 2 training camps for that guy and finally got in there with him. And Ray Borg, it's just a new challenge for me. So I'm having fun, man. It's like a game to me.
So let's look ahead. If you are to defeat Ray Borg, do you think that win kind of puts you back into UFC contention and allows you to have another UFC bout?
I would hope so. At the end of the day, like I said, like, I'm just trying to rack up as much money as I can so we could buy a house. And wherever that is, whoever's paying me the most, I've said it before, but I'm a prize fighter. I fight for prizes. So whoever's offering me the biggest prize is where I'm going to go fight at this point in my career. I want to fight. I think the good thing about that is that I think that correlates with money, and with the money correlates with fighting the best in the world. I think that the higher competition I fight, the more money I'll make. So I think I could really kill 2 birds with 1 stone, so to speak.
So would those 2 guys kind of be 2 of the bigger wins you'd have on your resume? What would it mean to take out both of those guys in succession?
Yeah, as far as name recognition, for sure, just because they both fought for the UFC belt, but there's always been like a kind of a, I don't know, like there's guys outside the UFC that are just as tough as dudes inside the UFC.
100%.
Guys in PFL, there's guys in Bellator, there's guys in promotions that are in Russia or the Middle East. Like Brave FC has some guys. There's guys all over the place. And I think that a part of what Khabib's doing, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, maybe it's not, but is trying to get some. Yes, he's coming to America to do this show, but I think he wants to start blending in some of that American talent with some of that Russian and Dagestani talent to showcase those guys, because I watched a couple of their shows because I just like to get familiar with the promotion that I'm going to fight in. And man, there's a couple guys that were super impressive that I've never heard of, So, yeah, I think as far as name recognition, though, for sure, John Dodson, Ray Borg, if I could knock those guys down, back to back, I think that definitely, for as far as my career, it's 2 of the bigger names I've beaten. Yeah.
And at that point, what more can you do to get one of the calls from the UFC or Bellator? So with that being said, we're nearing the end of this one. Just one more question for you. And it's just, where do you see yourself at this point in 2023? With 2021 being a great primer for you, what happens in 2022 to arrive to this point next year with an even higher outlook?
I think just keep fighting, staying active. I'd like to fight minimum of 3 times this year. 4 would be great. I'm having a January fight, so that kind of sets me up for another one before summer, and then maybe 2 in the second half of the year. So, and hopefully, win this fight. I just take it one step at a time. I got to win this fight, and then hopefully it's a call to a bigger promotion, or maybe it's Eagle FC again, and they up the ante a little bit more with the pay. I'm literally open to any promotion as long as it's a name opponent, somebody that gets me excited and motivated to go train, and the money's there. But whether that, if it's a UFC or, whatever the case, Bellator, doesn't really matter to me. But I'm hoping by this time next year, that was your original question, I'm getting ready for a big fight to put myself into the title contention, because honestly, even if I get back to the UFC, like I want to be fighting guys in the top 10, I want to be, I don't think I need, I will, but I don't want to waste too much time fighting guys outside of the rankings. There's some killers that are on the bottom end and outside of the rankings. But I just think I could beat them all. So I want to get fast tracked as, to the rankings as soon as I can, and try to make a run. I haven't given up on that hope and that dream. So we'll see what transpires over the next year.
Absolutely love the confidence, man. You have been spectacular. Let the fans know where they can find you on social media, man, and we'll get you on out of here.
Yeah, I got Instagram and Twitter, and it's just the Renegade 559. So hit me up. I usually talk politics and pictures of my kids. So there you go.
Perfect. Thank you for joining us, man. We'll be looking forward to seeing you at Eagle FC, and I'll be reaching out again. Hope to talk to you soon.
It was nice to meet you guys. Take care.
You as well.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you once again to Cody Gibson. And I don't know about you, but I'm excited for Eagle FC at the end of this month, man. They're looking to foray into North America. He mentioned, hey, maybe Khabib wants to mix in this talent pool with the U.S. talent pool. And I would love to see it. Realistically, you mix these guys in and you'll see the best of the best start to come out. And we will improve the quality of talent in this sport. I'm all for more promotions. Hearing that they pay that well, hey, this could be a legitimate contender, man. For promotions like Bellator and PFL, they're quality. I mean, I spoke to Patty the Batty, and Patty the Batty had some interesting words to say about Bellator. But there's definitely room for competition, and Eagle FC could get themselves a nice little seat there. What did you really think about what Cody had to say about where he's at in his career, and just, hey, it's time to, he's a prize fighter. It's time to make some money fighting. He just fought a former world champ contender, fighting another one. What do you think about that?
I mean, let's be honest. He's at the perfect time of his career. It's like kind of the make or break in a way for him. Obviously, he just fought John Dodson, beat him. Former title contender. He fought the best in the world in John Dodson. Demetrius Johnson, sorry. So, and now he's going up against Ray Borg, who also fought Demetrius Johnson. So he's at that point in his career where it's kind of make or break. And I find that interesting. And it's kind of his way back into the UFC. So I find his next fight to be very interesting at Eagle FC. And obviously, new promotion, new word for him on the street. So I'm interested to see where he goes. It could be a new career path for him. He might be on the UFC path again and maybe going for gold again. How do we know? I think he will, because you saw how he spoke as well. A lot of confidence in his words. I think there's a lot of gold in his future. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm excited to see how he pans out.
If he sticks with Eagle FC or with even somewhere like Bellator, right? I think he could be a real contender. I think it's gonna be a little tougher to compete with the top 10 immediately, like he said, in the UFC. But coming over, man, if he could string together a win or two in the UFC, he could do a very, very good bout. I mean, I don't see why not. He's fought some top tier guys. He has a loss to Aljamain Sterling. He's definitely seen some high level competition, man. And but to transition a little bit, our next guest is going to be Vince Morales, UFC contender, man. I believe it was 6 UFC fights, 3-3 record, but he's on a 2-fight win streak. Has also fought for Bellator, fought on the Contender Series as well. So he's been all over the place. Vince Morales on a 2-fight winning streak over Drako Rodriguez and Luis Smolka. It's some action bouts, man. This one should be fun. Our guest joining us is Vince Vendetta Morales, 11-5 MMA record, but he's on a 2-fight win streak in the UFC. Cousin of Ricky Simone, man. How are you doing, man? You look great. Setup looks good. You look like you're cozy tonight.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I'm good. Just getting cleaned up. We just got a house back in November. My girlfriend's been helping me set up the office, and this is what we got so far.
Love to see the frames, man. I wanted to start just ask you, what inspired you to pursue fighting? Did you always intend for it to be a profession, and what would you be doing if it weren't for fighting?
It's funny. I'd be an entirely different person if it wasn't for fighting. So I'm completely thankful for where it's brought me, where it's taken me in my life. I feel like I got a special place in my heart for MMA and fighting. What took me to it? I used to wrestle in high school, and I didn't start out very good, but I got decent by the time I was a senior, and just a couple years after, I really missed competing, and I stumbled my way into an MMA gym like 4 or 5 years after high school, and just letting them know like, hey, I got some wrestling background. I want to fight. Like I don't know what that means as far as training or anything with you, but like I want to start fighting, and then that was Rick Reyna's back in Ontario, Oregon, where that's just a little town of 10,000 people. And yeah, it got me started, got my foot in the door. And after, I think I only trained for, man, what I trained for 3 months, like once a week or something like that with an actual team, and took a fight, and I was hooked. It's been a ride ever since.
So for me personally, I love knowing what's behind the fighter. So behind you right now, we can see there's something in a frame right behind you personally. What is actually behind you in that frame and the other one? I'm just really nosy. I'd love to know what's in that.
Oh, you're good. So this is my fight gear from the Houston card back in August last year. And this one over here, my girlfriend Sheena Van Hoos, she also fights, and this is her last fight uniform from when was that? That would have been 2 years ago, because she tore her knee in the fight again, so she's been kind of on the sidelines. But yeah, we got both of our stuff put up, and then I got a few posters on the side that you probably can't see from just events that I was at.
That I love to know that. That's just me personally. I love to be nosy on what everyone else has in their backgrounds, because I don't have anything. But so for you personally, outside of MMA, what does Vince Morales like to do? Do you play any other sports? Do you play some baseball, American football, or is it just pure MMA? What's on your agenda?
MMA and boxing. Like if there's not some sort of like a fighting going on, it's hard for me to hold my attention to it. Which is crazy, because I used to play soccer back when I was young. But yeah, I MMA and boxing. That's really it. That's where all my attention goes for the most part. Outside of training and watching fights and everything. I listen to a lot of music. I'm big on music, mostly rap right now, and play some video games, whatever I can do to unwind, really, and then just kind of rest up and get ready for the next training session.
So when can we expect to see you in the Octagon next? We haven't seen any.
I'm hoping soon, man. They just started announcing fights for like March and stuff, so I'm hoping I get a phone call in the next few days where they're like, hey, we need you to come knock somebody's head off.
So if you could have one name, who would you pick to fight next? Obviously, Luis Smolka was last, but who would you have next? If you could pick anyone, who would you have?
Pick anyone. Man, I don't want to say O'Malley just because we all want to punch O'Malley in the face. But...
Is Ricky going to get that fight, by the way? Like, at what point does it make perfect sense? They're right there in the rankings now also.
I don't know, man. I know he's been offered it before, and there's been, issues on one end. I don't want to say which, but there were some issues, and I know he's been gunning for it since I think they were both on the first season of Contender Series. I think that was first season. Yeah, first season, and yeah, he's been gunning for it ever since. So I'm hoping he gets it soon. He deserves it. Ricky's been working his ass off.
So we've just spoken about your cousin a tiny bit. We've touched on that. So last fight, you absolutely smoked Lewis Smolka, who is, let's be honest, he's a relatively big name in the UFC. He had a fight with Sean O'Malley in the works. How did you feel when you connected that right and dropped Smolka? How did that feel for you? Because that must have been incredible.
It was a little bittersweet. So I talked in a few interviews about this. There was an interesting dynamic going into that fight because my cousin Ricky, trains over at Team Oyama for like half of his camp. And Smolka's a staple for that camp. He's been around forever. He's been with them for a while. So that created immediately an interesting dynamic. Ricky didn't even go do his camp over there like he normally does, which I felt bad about. And I met Smolka before, and I've liked him, and we got along and everything. And but business is business, and we both knew that going in there. I was pretty ecstatic to get my first finish in the UFC because I've been hunting for it, and I think I'm finally settling into where I need to be. I did feel a little bad. I know I hit him, and I knew it was hard, and he went down, and I was like, "Oh, please don't move, so I don't have to hit you again." And then he moved, and I was like, "I gotta hit you." So yeah, here we are. So there's actually a really cool picture that I got sent from the UFC with he was the ref was checking on him across the octagon. I was kind of kneeling down on the other side, just looking that way, and it for me, it embodied a lot of what mixed martial arts is. Like it's that the thrill and the agony on both sides, and it's very real and it's business, and it feels good to get to that point. I still feel bad that it was Smolka.
So obviously just had a massive win over Smolka. If you look at yourself in a year's time, where do you see yourself? Do you see yourself in the top 15? Maybe even further? Where do you see yourself?
In a year? So it's funny you asked this because my goal list right now for 2022 was 3 fights, 3 wins, getting a ranked opponent by the end of the year. All that works out the way it should. By this time next year, I'm looking at being ranked. I'd like top 10. Damn, give me top 10. But yeah, that's ideally that's where my focus is, and that's kind of what I'm envisioning for my future.
So out of everyone that you fought or trained with, right? Who is the most skilled guy you would say? Like, who would you say is the most talented?
The most talented. Let's see. I've trained with a lot of people. Let's see. I've trained with Aljamain Sterling, Marab, Cameron Else, who's a beast. Cameron's very good. Very underrated.
Cameron Else, if I'm not wrong, submitted Patty Pimblett in Cage Warriors.
Yeah, in like 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Put him out cold. Put him out like a light. Out cold.
Yeah, dude. Cameron is a madman. He was one of my main training partners for this fight. He's very, very skilled. My cousin Ricky, obviously. I think there's something different with Ricky, and I see greatness for his future. Ricky's the man. I'm really stoked for him, and he's younger than me, and shorter than me, but I still find ways to look up to him. Like he's dope. He does something special. I think he's, in my mind, I might be biased because he's family, but he's cream of the crop right now in terms of skill.
So obviously you just mentioned your cousin Ricky. How has he helped you in your UFC career? Because let's be honest, he must have helped you a lot, and he's on a 4-fight win streak at the moment in UFC. Has that impressed you? Because he is on the rise like no other contender in the UFC at the moment. How's that been for you? Just looking at his rise.
It's awesome, man. Really. So when I first started fighting, I didn't even know he was fighting, and he didn't know I was fighting. We were both. I think I was making my pro debut, and he had like 3 pro fights before we really found out. And then we so we were real close growing up, and then just growing up, started doing our own things and everything. Come to find out, we're doing the same thing, and then we started gradually getting more and more time together to train. And I go over there and work with him. He comes over here, works with me. We're both always learning. I think we've got good enough styles in our own right that we can both develop really well off of each other. So I think for both of us, we both play a pretty big role in each other's success. I read a tweet talking about National Trivia Day the other day or something, talking about me and Ricky were first cousins to go 5-0 in 21 or something like that. And I was like, wow, in the big show, that feels awesome to hear. So we're doing something right, and I think we're both just getting started, which is the crazy part.
Do you have any fun sparring stories about you and Ricky? Some stories in the gym?
Oh man, pretty much every time we just end up because so I think we both have like a sibling rivalry, even though we're cousins. We're doing the same thing, and we always want the upper hand. He's a tank, and when he gets me down, it's a nightmare. So anytime he's trying to take me down, I'm flipping, I'm doing something to get up. I remember one of the not recent, maybe a couple of years ago, it was the first time sparring in like a year because just crap had happened. And we were just so happy that we could be training with each other that we pretty much giggled the entire time while there was another class going on. And I just remember like looking over and seeing a few of them like, what the hell is wrong with these retards over here? And we're just laughing and clowning, and man, we just beating the brakes off each other, smiling about it. I mean, and that's because it's family. So there's love there, and then there's love for the sport, and I just trust what we're doing. And I think we're just we're very happy with where we're at right now.
Man, it's interesting to hear it because you always think of fighting and fighting family members, right? You'd think it'd be a little more aggressive, but often it's not. When you hear high level fighters, training with family almost allows you to know your sparring partners in a way you don't know others. It can help you push each other to a whole nother level, man. But switching gears a little bit, who's your dream matchup? Let's say you could bring anyone out and put them in their prime. Who is your dream matchup?
For a while, I remember this is before I was in the UFC, and I think I was still on the regional scene, maybe 3 fights deep or something, and I saw Cody Garbrandt fighting when he was in his prime, and he was like just wrecking people. I was like, man, that dude can box and he can wrestle too. I was like, that dude's dope. That prime version of Cody Garbrandt, that was somebody that I had always envisioned like getting matched up with, and now I don't think it's the same. Like, his career's gone certain ways and things like that. But that version of Cody, like, I think we would have a great fight.
Crazy to see the Cody from against Dom, who was completely untouchable, to the Cody against Kai. It's wild.
And Kai's not known to be the biggest power puncher, and to put him out like that, that's kind of scary. That was one thing going into the fight. I was saying, but man, with a kind of questionable chin, the last thing I'd be doing is wanting to cut weight. I'd be looking at going up a weight class before going down one, but to each their own.
So, what would you say your highlights of your career is so far in MMA? Obviously, you've knocked out Lewis Smolka, who's a big name in the UFC. What is that the pinnacle of your career thus far, or would you say there's something else?
So the moment that meant the most to me, it depends on how we're going to weigh this, because to everybody else, knocking out Smolka, who's never really been knocked out like that, that's pretty big. So that one probably, but to me personally,
to you personally, we want to know what's behind the fight.
Yeah, okay. So to me personally, when I was still fighting at 145, I fought Andrew Cruz for the Front Street fights, the regional belt back home, back in Boise, Idaho, and I was 5-1 at the time or something like that. Anyways, I was coming off of a big win in Bellator where I had tore my knee up, and I ended up getting knee surgery, but it took me forever to get it.
4-1 going in.
What was that?
You were 4-1 going in.
4-1 going in. Yeah, so I tore my knee in the Bellator fight, before that fight actually, but I finally got it taken care of, but it took me a while to do it. And I got it taken care of like 2 weeks before the fight with Cruz, where it was for a belt. And it's not in me to pull out really, so I wasn't about to. And right around that same time, one of my roommate had gotten to a pretty bad car accident one night and didn't make it. And he was he started talking to me about him wanting to get into training and all this. And like, I was kind of telling him what it's done for me. And he was very excited about getting into it. And unfortunately, we never made it to that point. But I remember that was another reason I wasn't pulling out of the fight, because it wasn't just for me. It was for my friend as well. And he was also a real good friend for a lot of people back in my hometown of 10,000 people in Ontario, Oregon. So it's a smaller community and everybody knew him. So it meant a lot to me to be able to go in that fight. We even made Ross the Boss shirts, which was his nickname. So I walked out there with that, and I had a tough fight where I'd hurt Cruz a few times and he'd taken me down and survived. And we just grinded it out for 3 rounds. And towards in the 3rd round, I looked across the cage and saw one of my friends holding up a picture of my roommate who had just passed. And I just reignited me. I knew it wasn't just for me that we're fighting in there for. And I went out there and stopped him like pretty bad in that round. And yeah, it just meant everything to me. And I remember looking out. I just watched the video the other day. That's funny that we're talking about it now. It's probably why it's so fresh. But I looked out and I saw all of our friends and everybody was there, and like half the people were in tears and stuff. And I'm like, it's just a fight, like whatever. But like it felt right.
It's a lot bigger than that.
Yeah, it was a lot bigger than that. And it meant and still means like the world to me, really. So for me personally, that's like a defining moment.
That's crazy to hear. I don't think there's anything at all in terms of fighting that can really do what that did. You could win a belt and it will never scratch this, right. Like it won't even scratch the surface of that feeling. That gave me
goosebumps.
That gave me goosebumps. That's an incredible story, man.
Yeah. So that's one of my favorite moments ever.
So this is just a random one. So I can see on your arm here you have a tattoo.
Yeah,
this one. Let me just ask him what it is, because I love to know other people's tattoos. I'm really nosy on that sort of business.
So
I'd love to end it on this.
Like I was saying, I'm a big music fan. So my favorite rapper, Tech Nine, I've seen in concert like 15 times or something. He's got a great quote that says, "Never slide, never fall, never fail." And that's what I got here. Never slide, fall, or fail. So that's something that reminds me. And it's not about obviously we can never not fail and all that, but it's about not letting that define you and keep you down. So that means a lot to me.
Wow. That is a brilliant way to end this interview. Before we get you on out of here, do you mind just saying who you are, saying you're watching MMA Overtime, and just telling us where we can find you on social media? Is that okay with you?
Yeah, I got you. Oh, yeah. So my name is Vince Morales. You're watching me on MMA Overtime. You can reach me on Instagram, Twitter, and even TikTok if you want to watch some of my behind-the-scenes stuff for the fights. All of it's at Vendetta135. Hopefully I got some more news soon.
Thank you very much to Vince Morales. I can't wait to see him back in action, man. Again, on a winning streak. That's big for him. In the lighter weight classes right now, it's crucial to gain some traction. There's some of the more stacked weight classes, a lot of talent, and not too many big names. So it's important to keep that momentum going. 2 fights in a row. Gonna be interesting to see if he can get 3 fights in a row. Talked about Ricky Simone a little bit. Hope to get Ricky Simone on the show eventually, man. Manifest to speak it into existence, and it will happen. But with that being said, man, we know how this interview that's about to come up is about to go. But I don't think anybody watching really understands just how interesting of a guy Dewey Cooper is, right? So for many people who don't watch, or don't have the knowledge of kickboxing back to when he was fighting and stuff like that, Dewey was a special talent. He won quite a few world titles. Personal friends of Muhammad Ali, personal friends of I believe it was Muhammad Ali, and I can't remember the other name, so I don't want to mistake that, but Muhammad Ali, he details this in this interview. He came to watch one of Dewey's fights, specifically to see Dewey fight, and then I think it was against Michael McDonald in the final, but don't quote me on that. And they got together after the fight. Got some crazy stories, man. I mentioned Enson Inoue earlier as a golden treasure. I would love to see Dewey Cooper on something like JRE and just see where he goes for a couple hours, man, because you can tell that man's got some stories, and where his mind is at, you can tell why he's a world champion kickboxer, a world championship winning boxing head coach, and a world championship winning UFC coach. Man, what do you got to say before we get over to Dewey, man? I'm so excited for this one. I can't even wait.
Honestly, I've spoken to quite a few people in my time. I'm only 21, and as a 21-year-old, I know him from coaching Francis Ngannou. But to hear from his past was absolutely sensational. His tattoo story was amazing. I was blown. I
don't know what to call it, because it's not a tattoo and it's not a branding. I'm not sure what to call it. And anyone who doesn't know that story, that you've got to stick around for that. That is one of the craziest stories you will ever hear.
Yeah, honestly, this is an interview that will stick in my mind for a long time. That's one that will give me inspiration at my lowest moments in life. I promise you that. He was absolutely sensational. His stories about Muhammad Ali, how he came to see him fight. I mean, how many fighters can actually say that? Genuinely. Not many fighters can say that Muhammad Ali came to an event to specifically see you fight. That's ridiculous. And then he speaks about Francis Ngannou ahead of his UFC 270 battle against Cyril Gane. It's one hell of an interview, isn't it? Let's be honest. Let's be honest. Really, realistically, he's an incredible guy. I can't wait to hear this one back myself. And I spoke to him.
There's not much more to be said. Let's just go ahead and shoot you on over to Dewey the Black Cobra Cooper. Let's see what you guys have to say about it. We are joined by Dewey the Black Cobra Cooper, former WKC and WKF World Kickboxing Champion, K1 World Grand Prix finalist, and today he's known as the trainer of Francis Ngannou and Kevin Lee, among others. How are you doing, man? Been a while since we spoke. I'm excited to get you back in here.
Thank you. 10-time world championship winning coach of boxing, kickboxing, mixed martial arts, and bare knuckle boxing. Since you're throwing all that out
yes,
there.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, great. We're happy. And, we're moving forward with more fights and more victories to come.
Man, let's go get right into it. So today it was announced that Kevin Lee is signed with Eagle Fighting Championships. This is notably spearheaded by Khabib Nurmagomedov. Did you know this was coming? And what do you think of him versus Diego Sanchez being announced?
Yeah, I knew it was coming. They gave Kevin a really great offer that really was irrefusable. The weight class is definitely a bonus, and the opponent is great. I'm excited for it. Kevin will be doing a lot of this training in Miami, and I'm okay with that because I got love for Kevin. I want the best for him, and whatever he needs to do to get his mind right, to get on the right track, I'm all for that. I can't see Diego Sanchez beating Kevin at this stage in both of their careers. So it's a magnificent matchup, and it's going to be good for Kevin. He'll look good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And man, UFC 270 is already creeping up on us. And that means that the lineal heavyweight champion, Francis Ngannou, will be defending his belt against interim champion, former sparring partner, Cyril Gane. When we first spoke, it was kind of at the genesis of this rivalry, man. And even at that point, you guys knew this was a potential future opponent for Francis. How has the approach changed in the gym with such a different opponent than anyone Francis has really fought before?
Well, yes and no, because most guys Francis had never trained with or had the same trainer as. So though it's a different opponent, there's a level of familiarity in the opponent. So it's not so unknown or so uncharted. The mentality is basically the same. We accomplished a huge feat in defeating Stipe Miocic earlier this year. We are a championship team. Francis Ngannou is the undisputed UFC heavyweight champion. So the mentality is about, and still the mentality is about remaining victorious and having a successful first title defense. So that's really the only thing that changed. Before, we were wanting to take the belt and the new. Now we want to keep it and still, and that's exactly what's going to happen.
I cannot wait for that fight. So social media has shown us that Francis has been getting in some work with the king of kickboxing, Rico Verhoeven. Sorry for the pronunciation. I'm a bit off of those.
Yes.
But,
yes.
Have you been around for many of those sessions? And if so, how have they looked? How's Francis looked in those sessions?
Yeah. I was around for all of the sessions. It was a good exchange of knowledge. Rico gave some of his information and a few pointers to look out for and implement into what Francis already does. And more than anything, it was just getting champions together to talk about their walks in life and the experiences they go through and the things you have to ingest in fight camp, with the great expectation that the fans and the media and the event brings. So Rico was great. They did a bunch of drills back and forth, and it was all very useful training and information.
So does Francis seem like he has a little extra motivation for this fight, considering the opponent and coaching staff he's going against? He has to be excited to kind of get a chance to just silence that camp a little bit, at least in terms of what's been said about him.
Well, I mean, human nature, the answer is probably yes, but we don't worry about the gray noise, the static. We focus on what needs to be done, our objectives, our goals, and what we're focusing on doing. So deep down inside, and probably the answer is yes. But right now, we're not game planning about all of that. We're game planning to win another fight and have a successful title defense. All the personal static is just something that they all have to get through. Us as coaches, we're focusing on one thing, having Francis ready, prepared, psychologically, physically, spiritually, soulfully, mentally for victory. So that's your question. Most likely, yes, but we're not focusing on that. We're focusing on the job at hand, and that's for Francis to be at his very best and to win the fight. And that's what fighting is all about. It's not about anything but within. It's about the fighter, his camp, and his preparation, and that's what we're focusing on.
So have you had any contact with Coach Lopez at all in the past 12 months or so? Or?
No, the last time we spoke was online when he congratulated us for beating Stipe. I've never had a problem with Coach Lopez. I'm cool with him. I wish him the best in everything he does, except for January 22nd. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, you've never been one to say anything negative about him. Every time I've asked you about him, you've had nothing but great responses. So
yeah, remember, he was cool with me. You know what I mean? So, but remember, I might be cool with you doing the interview. Your buddy also doing the interview I may not even like. So, in life, it's all about connections and interactions and the way people form in union.
And you've got to be professional.
It's positive and negative. Sometimes they just don't attract. Like I said, I don't focus on any of that. Lopez is cool with me. It's unfortunate that him and Francis aren't seeing eye to eye. Right now, that's not my concern. We have a fight. We're 6 weeks out. January 22nd, UFC 270 in Anaheim, California. My only focus is for Francis to win and do whatever I can, along with Coach Eric Nixick, to get Francis ready for victory and taking that victory. Man, when I tell you this in every interview, that's all I care about is us winning. Whatever it takes, whatever we have to do, anything I could do for that, that's the goal, and that's what I'm willing to do.
That's what we love to hear. So you must get this questions about this a lot. And in a prior interview with John, you claimed Francis had a special kind of power. The direct quote was Wakanda power.
Yes.
Inward, how would you describe just how hard Francis hits? How hard does he hit? I can't even imagine. It would probably kill me. It would kill me.
He probably could if he hit you full power cleanly and you didn't roll with it or duck or something. Guys, he hits very hard. I've been hit by Francis through the pads, on the pads a few times for real. It's vicious. He's just, certain people have certain gifts. He has a gift, man. It was a gift that he was born with. I like to joke and say it's through the ancestors because he's from Africa. You know what I mean? But it's from his DNA. It's from the way he was brought up, from the movements he did as a kid, and it translated to fighting. He has I call it gargantuan power because it's just hard to explain. But when you get hit by it, you feel it. And remember, there are some fighters that have a powerful overhand right or a powerful body shot, like guys like the boxer Mickey Ward. He wasn't a great puncher, but his liver shot was incredible, hurt everyone. You would consider Mickey Ward a power puncher, but he hit that liver shot and you go down. Francis is special because he don't have to technically hit you correctly to put your lights out. See, a lot of these guys have trained power. They're strong, but they learn how to place that punch perfectly to knock you out. Francis can cluck you upside your head and knock you out. It's a whole different ball game.
So go ahead, Ben. Go ahead.
I mean, even with
either hand, by the way, either hand, guys, either hand.
I mean, even if you poked me on the chin, I'm out for the count. That's me probably in my own grave. How does your body feel it? So after a few days of training with Francis Ngannou, do you feel it on your body?
They definitely feel it. And I'm gonna tell you, most guys probably couldn't take it. Especially the way I have them pound on me because I have them go full power. But I do have a slight ego. I fought in the K1. I fought against Peter Arts, Fred Psyche, Gary Goodrich, Mighty Mo. The hardest puncher I ever faced was Mighty Mo. I fought Glave Fatoso. I fought some hard-hit guys. I sparred with Ray Sefo when he was in his prime for years and years and years getting ready for my fights. So I'm used to that power. It hurts. I go home sore as hell, but I'm just strong enough to be able to take it and come back the next day. It's not a nice thing. It's not happy. Doesn't feel good. But I know about absorbing power. And by the way, Francis has that gargantuan power.
So let's get a little more personal, right? This is going to be going on a different network than the other interviews that I've posted with you. So some viewers will not have heard what we've done before. And anytime someone does a quick Google search of your name, right, anyone can see the mark that's there on your arm. At a glance, it looks simply like a mark or a scar, but the actual story you told us before was pretty incredible. Can you elaborate for the people who don't quite know that story? What is it right there on your arm?
Yeah, well, like everybody in America nowadays, even though I had this in the 90s, tattoos, but on my right arm, I got scarification. I got the idea back in 1992. I wanted to get like traditional tribal scarring on my face.
Look at
like
that.
The Kenyans and all of those people, my African brethren. I want to get scars on my face, but of course, people talk me out of it. This is America. You don't want to have scars on your face. You're only 18 years old. You're going to regret it later, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I decided to get this scarred on my arm. A lot of people think it's like a brand or something like the college fraternities get, but it's not. It's actually the strength god. Let me see if you guys can see it.
Yeah, that is absolutely beautiful.
You know, it's the strength god on my arm. And I did that when I was getting ready to turn professional because my name is the Black Cobra. I got named that by my original coach. And when I thought I would transform into someone else, I'm not Dewey Cooper anymore. Dewey Cooper's a mortal man. Black Cobra isn't. Black Cobra is a warrior. He's a champion. So I got this scarred on my arm. They cut it in with a scalpel just to remind me whenever I felt weak or needed strength or needed to emit power or anytime I'm in a bad place and I need energy, strength, or just positivity, I would rub my strength god and it would make me feel better, stronger when I'm tired, exhausted, whatever. And that's why I wear my shirt up when it's fight time. I've done this forever. When my fighters fight, I roll my sleeves up because I don't want to cover the strength god. I want that strength god to be out there, making sure we're emitting that powerful, positive vibe that we like to emit when it's fight time. And that's all. It's not like I'm trying to flex muscles because Francis twice swole or buffer than me. He makes me look anorexic.
And so Eric Nixick's a big dude too.
Oh yeah, Eric Nixick is swole too. We got a strong crew now. but I don't do it to show my muscles, man. I'm an old man. I'm not tripping on my body like that. I'm not trying to get views or people thinking I'm muscular, sexy, pretty, whatever the fuck. None of that. I do it for one reason, because when it's time to go to war, I want that strength god emitting positive energy, power, and strength. And that's why I do it.
Well, that is absolutely incredible. I never even knew that story. So that's a crazy story for me to hear. And I was just sat here like.
And by the way, anyone that get this, I don't recommend it. I did it with no anesthetics. The shit hurt, man. After the first scar, I was ready to quit, but I was too embarrassed because I always said I was going to do it. It hurt like hell. I bled for 2 hours while they cut while they traced it in my skin. And we used instant ash to put it in the cut so it wouldn't get infected. It was painful as hell. Wasn't worth it. I was 19. That was what? Jesus Christ. I can't even calculate. That was 27 years ago I got this. 28 years ago, actually. So I would recommend it now. But after the first cut, I had to keep going because I only had one scar on my shoulder. So that's how it went.
Well, I mean, I've got like 4 or 5 tattoos on my right arm here, but I would never do that. That's just another level. But let's now move on to your coaching kind of thing. So did you always know that after your fighting days, you wanted to transition into like the role of a coach? And was the transition easy, or at the start, was it a bit of a difficult transition to make?
No, it's very easy. And I knew I was going to coach because in my fighting career, I was already coaching guys. People don't realize when I was in my prime of my career, I was already coaching Jessica Rakoczy, Jessica Raging Rakoczy. A lot of you MMA buffs may not know her, but if you remember the first—
She was on The Ultimate Fighter too.
Ultimate Fighter with Ronda Rousey, Miesha Tate were the coaches. My fighter, Jessica Rakoczy, made it to the finals and fought the new UFC champion, Juliana Pena.
She was hurt too. She was not healthy through the season.
Yes, Jessica Rakoczy fought. Remember, guys, she had relatively no mixed martial arts experience. She was a boxing world champion. We won 7 world titles together in boxing, 3 different weight classes. We unified all the boxing belts at 135 pounds. Jessica was a beast, but I was training her since 1999, guys. We won our first world title in 2002. So to answer your question, I've been training people the entire time I was fighting because as a child, starting in martial arts, you would train. And once you got up to the higher belts, you would then help the teacher out or help the instructor out and teach the white belts. So I've been training people since I was like 16 years old. And as a pro, people just loved the way I train and started approaching me about training them. And I was so used to being in the gym all day, training after I trained, helping out with the gym. It was just a natural thing. So I never looked at it like I was going to be a coach. I was just helping out guys that needed help. Jessica and I, Ray Semple brought me Jessica Rakoczy. We ended up winning all these world titles, doing magnificent things. But I had guys like Frank Mundahar, another boxer who did really well. Shannon, that was Shannon's last name. I'm tripping right now. Jimmy Spacuzza. What was Shannon's last name? I'm tripping. Anyway, prime time, my girl Shannon, she was a mixed martial artist, won the Tough Enough title. I trained so many people, guys. Since before I even retired, once I stopped fighting, it was just natural. I already had like 6, 7 guys I was already coaching anyway, and it progressed from there. The way I met Kevin Lee was his coach, his original coach, Sean Desai. I was his coach. I was training him. I trained Eddie Barranco. I trained so many coaches back then that when I stopped fighting, I just started getting fighters sent to me, etc. And that's the same thing that happened with Francis Ngannou.
So with everything you've done in your career, right, what's the most meaningful moment to you personally? You've had experiences and interactions with everyone from Muhammad Ali to Francis Ngannou. So what's an experience that really sticks out to you in your lifetime?
Man, that's a crazy question. I would have to say my most meaningful, I got a few. I hate to talk about this one, but my most meaningful martial arts experience was 24 years old. I fought this fighter, the first kickboxing fight at the Orleans Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada. I was the co-main. Chuck Liddell, the Iceman, was still kickboxing back then. He was the main event of this kickboxing show. And I was 24 years old. I fought a kid from the Fairtex gym in San Francisco. And that was before Alex Gong, the late, great Alex Gong, was killed. Anyway, I knocked this Fairtex Muay Thai fighter out. I went to the back dressing room. My dad comes to the back dressing room, hugs me, and tells me he loves me. Mind you, I was 24 years old. That was the first time my dad had ever told me he loved me in his life. So
that's a moment. That's a moment.
I was so shocked, and I feel bad to this very day because now he's passed away. I love my dad dearly, but I was so shocked I leaned in, didn't really hug him back, and I didn't say a word.
No, it's old school, man. My dad is similar in that sense. That's a real story. Out of everything you've done in your life, for that to be the one experience that you point out, that's really neat. That speaks volumes, man.
Yeah, when I close my eyes and think about that, that's the one, because it was like, holy shit, Daddy just said he loved me. It was crazy to me. But that was personal. I really don't talk about that much on the media. My next most important moment, I guess I would say, was being in the K1 tournament, fighting 3 fights in one night, man. I fought Nobu Uwashi from Japan. I fought Mighty Mo, the Samoan power puncher, was knocking everybody out at the time. I was the first one to beat him in K1 before Cal Kalai, the 175-pound Muay Thai fighter. I caught him with the head kick and stopped him. That was after I won against him. And then fighting one of my favorite kickboxers of all time, Michael McDonald's, in the finals. Michael won a decision over me in the finals, but I fought 3 full fights in one night with my friend Muhammad Ali in the audience, who I previously met and known through his daughter May Ali, because she went to college with me. Ali came to that event because I was fighting. A lot of people don't know that. That's why he came. Of course, the K1 invited him there, but he had met me, he had befriended me, had me punch him in his hand. He wanted to feel my jab barehanded at May's graduation party. And after I hit him so hard in the hand, he told me he would come see me fight. So that was my most meaningful night of fighting, I guess you'd say, besides my dad telling me he loved me. The 3 fights in one night, man, was crazy. I did 3 full fights in one night. All 3 fights went to the decision. It was the craziest night ever. My next important night was, of course, my first world champion, Jessica Rakoczy, winning her world title. And all the world titles I won were important. But I must admit, I'd already won 8 boxing world titles. I'd already won a bare knuckle boxing world title. I'd already won a kickboxing world title this year, previously. The one title I had not won as a coach was, and I won other mixed martial art league titles, but the one I never won until 2021 was that UFC strap. We fought Tony Ferguson with Kevin Lee. We came up a bit short. So when Francis Ngannou won that heavyweight title from Stipe, after we lost it 2.5, 3 years before, was a huge moment for me. And that's got to be, out of all those experiences I had as a fighter, besides that, that had to be my biggest moment, because it was so great to finally be able to say, okay, as a coach, I've trained a fighter who won the UFC heavyweight title. And remind you, I've been with Francis since, before the Overeem fight. So that was a huge accomplishment. And now I got championships, like I said, when you introduced me, in all the fighting sports: boxing, kickboxing, bare knuckle boxing, and of course, MMA being the UFC, Francis Ngannou. Sorry about answering that question so long. So those are my 5 best moments ever.
Man, we love it. We love it.
Martial arts life.
I think a lot of people would really like to hear the story, man. There's so many experiences. I couldn't imagine the types of stories you have to tell your kids, and then hopefully eventually your grandchildren, man. I hope everything is well with you. I hope your daughter's doing great, man. Can I ask just one more thing from you? Can you say, hey, this is Dewey Cooper, and you're watching MMA Overtime, man, and let the fans know where to find you before we let you go?
Okay. First of all, and backtrack. The most important day of my life was seeing my daughter Shaolin born, but that's not about fighting. I was talking about my fighting experiences. Yes, now, what do you want me to say? MMA what?
MMA Overtime.
Okay. And by the way, guys, we're 6 weeks away from a great night. We're looking forward to it. January 22nd, UFC 270. Francis Ngannou, Team Ngannou. Yes, we plan on maintaining our championship, and still, you've been watching. What you want me to say?
MMA
Dewey Cooper?
Overtime. Yeah, this is Dewey Cooper. You watching MMA Overtime?
What's up, everyone? I'm Coach Dewey Black Cobra Cooper, and you've been watching MMA Overtime.
A special interview indeed from a special man. Thank you, Dewey. An honor to have you on as always. Hope to have you on again in the future. We got to get you on in some capacity to just tell your stories, man. It's nice having you on to talk Francis. It's nice having you on to talk stuff like that. Man, I just want to hear some more of those stories because I can tell you for a fact that Dewey Cooper has some insane stories from his fighting days. But we've reached the end of this one, and what an episode we've had here, right? What an episode we had week 1 as well. But MMA Overtime number 3 coming up with Michael the Count Bisping. We are going to be hosting the former UFC middleweight champion of the world, UFC Hall of Famer, and everybody's favorite fighter, your fighter's favorite fighter, Michael the Count Bisping. I am so excited. It might be a little bit shorter episode, but it wouldn't be fitting to not have Mike on his own. He's got to be a standalone, man. Michael Bisping, thank you so much for coming on. We're excited for it, man. You looking forward to that one as much as me?
Honestly, I'll be honest with you. I've never been more excited for anything in my life than to speak to Michael Bisping. I was in the UK when he won the belt against Luke Rockhold. When he knocked him out, that sent shivers down my spine. I swear to God, that was the most amazing moment in my MMA career. I've seen
in your MMA career.
honestly, great. I've seen Conor McGregor rise from Cage Warriors to the top of UFC, but nothing will compare to Michael Bisping going from the rocky MMA career in UFC all the way to the top. And I'm excited to hear his stories. He's one of a kind, and I can't wait for next week's episode.
Man, this one was special, but again, next week is something else. I can't believe at this stage, already getting lucky enough to speak to Michael Bisping. Crazy to think that in this short journey of mine, I've spoken to Patty the Batty, Michael Bisping, among countless others, Rob Font, Ray Longo. Crazy amount of guys. But none match up to this one. This is a hell of a way to start 2022. And let's build on that, man. Thanks to everybody who tuned in. Make sure you like the video, drop a comment, and follow me over on the Uncaged Media YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, man. A little bit different. We're bringing you videos similar to MMA on point, man. We're bringing you edited feature videos, but all of the content you need with your favorite fighters, with your fight news, you're going to want to be tuned in to OTH's MMA YouTube channel. We got a lot of stuff coming out, man, and we're in the middle of a reworking of this channel, man. Some things are going to be switched up. The look's going to be a little bit different, and you're going to be seeing some interesting stuff come out here, man. Stick with us. Make sure to tune into the website, overtimeheroics.net. And, man, thank you guys for tuning in. Find me at Uncaged Media on Twitter, _in-between. Ben, let them know where to find you, and let's get out of here ourselves.
I think my name on Twitter is Ben F. Thomas 10, but I'm sure
it is.
There we are. That's my boy. He knows where to find me. Go to his Twitter. You'll find me, Ben F. Thomas 10. There you are. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram, and you will get your best MMA news from us too.
Make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.